Welcome, everybody, to the Built Different podcast. We are back another week 2 of our NFL journey together. It's going to be episode 2 of Gold Rush. And man, week 11, football, we're here, Thanksgiving.
Here we are.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all the viewers. Obviously, this is going to come out after Thanksgiving. We're recording the day after Thanksgiving.
Happy Black Friday to the viewers.
Black Friday, that means it's Christmas time, man.
It is. Tis the
Hell
season.
Yeah, tis the season. We got a lot of good things going on. We're going to dig into some stuff today. So we're going to cover some NFC, some AFC East action. I think those are the two most important divisions right now for the playoffs and the rest of the league. We're going to give you some other top takes from week 11. You know, Bills here, obviously. You know, Bills in the flesh for another good episode of Bills Block. Tom's bullshit intuition. We got 5 and 5. We got a whole bunch of good stuff lined up for you. So, you know, with that being said, man, Thanksgiving.
How was it?
Dude, it was. I went to like 4 or 5 people's houses.
Awesome.
I was shot. I mean, I'm shot right now. I'm still like hungover
Still
and just
it.
Fucking the food.
Tryptophan, man, gets you every time.
Oh, the baked mac just killed me. I had so many plates of baked mac. That is the number one meal for me on Thanksgiving is the baked mac.
Baked mac solid.
Yeah.
I'm a little weird. I'm a turnips guy. I could literally just plow a bowl of turnips and I'd be happy. But
just smoking a bowl of turnips.
Yep, yeah, that's that's a sleeper pick for the sides. But my day was good too. Definitely bet the over on number of plates. I was over 3.5, and that cashed for me.
Yeah, so you had 4 or 5.
I had 4.
Okay,
I had 4.
All right.
You know,
that's cool.
They knew where to set the line.
Yeah,
but
hopefully a lot of people made money on that bet.
Yeah. I think it was just me, and
Less
you know, even so, even when you win on that, you definitely still lose. I was feeling it last night, but.
That drive home, because I live 30 minutes from where I go everywhere. That drive home was a disaster.
Exactly 30
I almost
minutes
fell asleep a couple times.
It was rough.
It was bad, man.
It was rough.
But those games
were excellent.
Those games, honestly, I think we got treated to a good slate of games.
I'm not statistically backing this, but those are the best games that I
remember from Thanksgiving, right?
In at least a while.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back a few years. There's definitely been some really good ones.
Because mostly the good, gritty games that I remember come from Christmas. When it comes to holiday football, most of my memories from good holiday stuff happening is... And I'm an Eagles fan. So you guys know the one play, but yeah. So.
Yeah, I really liked the whole slate. I think it proved a lot. I think we got a lot of meaningful stuff, so the timing of this episode's pretty perfect. I want to just kick us right off, starting with Lions versus Bills. And, you know, Bills' second game in, 5 days or something like that at Detroit. But I really think that we learned a lot about both teams there.
Yeah.
I think the Lions may actually have something. And, you know, do you feel that the Lions keeping it close, and really they should have won that game. I want to get into like why they didn't. But do you think the Lions are legit?
I think this win for the Bills, or this game in general, says a lot more about the Lions than it'll say about the Bills. I think the Bills, right now, I mean, they're still winning their games. They're greasing the tires a little bit. They're fixing some kinks and everything that they got going on. But for the Lions, man, I mean, this is what I've said all year. Like, you know, when the Eagles struggled with them week 1, I saw that offense right off the rip. They get a defense with this team, and the defense has played a little bit better as we get week over week. Their defense is improving. I mean, not a lot of people are paying attention to the Lions.
Yeah.
But Jared Goff, you know, I think it was wrong place, wrong time for his placement on the Rams. They needed a quarterback that was going to win them the Super Bowl, and he wasn't it. But I think going to Detroit and getting to rebrand himself, refocus, retool and everything, I like this team. I like this team. I mean, obviously improvements need to be made.
Yeah.
But for a start, this is a spicy little team. And they've given a lot of teams some very close heartbreaks this year.
They have.
And there's still a rest of the season to go.
Yeah. They got to be up there in terms of games within one touchdown, right? Yeah. So I don't really recall them losing more than one game by more than a touchdown. So they got wrecked by the Patriots. But outside of that, they keep it close. And they're always within striking distance. One guy that I like that I will definitely end up talking more about during one of the Leader of Men segments is Dan Campbell. I love Dan Campbell since he was an interim coach at Miami, and I do wish that we stuck with him for a little longer.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with how things end up and where we are today.
Right.
I think maybe things would have been a little different a little sooner in Miami if we gave him an honest shot. I think Aaron Glenn has that defense starting to plug a little bit,
it's looking like they're starting to, know
Malcolm Rodriguez, man, he was not supposed to be a starter in this league, and he's making plays
making the most of it.
Out. So his growth has been tremendous. I think he's only going to get better. This is going to be a Pro Bowl linebacker in this league.
That's the huge thing for Detroit is the growth. That's what you need from this season. You need the growth from everyone from top to bottom. Like you said, like defense, you need the growth there. You needed to see the growth from Jared Goff. I think this season, in a season where I'm not saying the Lions came into the season like, oh, we don't want to win.
Yeah.
But I think on their little checklist that they made before the season, I think they've checked off a lot of boxes. Besides one being, let's try to make the playoffs or let's have a winning record or whatever.
Yeah.
That box won't be checked.
Right.
But the rest of the boxes, I think that they came into the season looking for, definitely they can check off.
Given those are the boxes that really matter. And if you listen to the Jamal Williams speech on Hard Knocks, you know that the rest of these boxes don't mean a damn thing in that locker room.
Yeah.
But I think you still do have to look back and feel good about how close you can get.
Yeah.
And I think Dan Campbell's really got some things to learn. He's a tremendous leader of men, but he's still figuring out the situational game management stuff. I really think if he had gone for it and instead of kicking that field goal that tied it up with about 30 seconds left, I think they had Buffalo on their heels
to make that touchdown.
Right.
And
so
they were driving. They had the Bills a mess.
You've got one of the best short yardage backs in the league right now, Jamal Williams, who came out of nowhere, has more touchdowns this year than he had the rest of his career combined.
Isn't he like third in touchdowns in the league?
First in touchdowns.
He's first?
Yeah, he took over first. And, it does help when you play before everybody else on Thursday, but he had it going into it too. So
regardless, he can feel happy for, a couple, 3 days that he's the number one guy.
I think he'll hold it through the weekend as well. He's, I want to say, 2 touchdowns ahead of Chubb right now, who, Tampa Bay is not the easiest matchup against running backs. They're not what they used to be.
I don't see him scoring 2 touchdowns against the Bucs.
Right. I think he's going to get his one. So, I do like that conversation, who's going to end up with the most touchdowns. I don't know if it will be Jamal Williams, but either way, I think he could have gotten you a couple yards there. Just keep the chains moving. They have 30 seconds to get down the field and maybe kick that field goal to put it into overtime. With no time left on the clock at minimum. But maybe they get down there and they score a touchdown with even less time left.
And I don't know. I keep coming back to Jared Goff, and I'm sorry. I don't know why. It's just like Jared Goff, I'm just so proud of this guy. Yeah. Because it's he could have easily, after getting traded from the Rams and then watching his replacement win the whole fucking thing. Yeah. That could have easily just destroyed his career mentally.
Absolutely.
But he's out there every game, just in it, trying to fire up his teammates. Like, he's a dog. And this is the part of Jared Goff that no matter what happens after this year, if he's traded to a different team and goes and leads someone else, or if he stays with the Lions, I don't know. I think Jared Goff's going to re-enter our hearts next year. I truly believe that.
I hope you're right. The Lions do have a chance with this much season left to win enough games to get out of good quarterback position for the draft. I really think they will do that.
I think they should. I'm not, again, I'm completely confusing with this take that I'm making. I think they should go for whatever improvements that they can make, because again, at the end of the day, it's about winning the Super Bowl.
Yes.
But Jared Goff, this is what I think he needed for his career. Everything that's happened these last 2 years, because I think greatness comes when you're molded in the darkness. And that's exactly the storyline I give Jared Goff. I would be surprised if he's Batman.
That's a solid line. I would be surprised if he's Batman. He's not really built like a Batman. But I do think what I was just saying is they're getting themselves out of position where they aren't going to be able to get one of those top-notch quarterbacks. But at the same time, they'll still be in range where they can get one that has a little bit more raw talent.
Even if it's in the second round, third round.
Somebody they can build behind Jared Goff. And I think Jared Goff is a great
teacher.
A great tutor, and he has skills that can translate. So, I think the Lions are on a road to success. they're just not driving crazy fast right now.
Yeah.
So on the Bills side of the ball, I think Josh Allen said he did exactly what I always say he does. He throws to the wrong team, continues to lead the league in interceptions. He kept the Lions in this game, given the Lions played great defense, but it's not looking fantastic for Josh Allen right now. And he also made some great plays. Don't get me wrong. He is the reason that they did win the game.
The pressure's building, though. The pressure's there, and I think this is the test for Josh Allen, I believe. And it's either going to separate him from many quarterbacks in this league, or it's going to group him with many quarterbacks in this league. I think the win over the Lions, it's the Lions, but the win over the Lions I think is huge.
It means more.
You got to keep yourself afloat. If you're going to struggle, you got to at least keep your team winning, keep your team afloat. It's going to be, the pressure's there, Josh Allen. Like if you really want it, because I know you've said on a couple different occasions that you consider yourself one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Your fans say you're the best. This is the time to actually prove that.
Right.
And this playoff run is going to determine that whole thing.
Correct.
And I don't want to hear after this is all over that you were fighting an injury either.
Yeah.
I'm tired of those excuses.
Yeah, that wouldn't mean anything to me. Ultimately, if you have to sit down and heal for a week, your team can win one without you. And you don't need each one of these wins. You might for the division, but if you're that confident in yourself, you can take some games on the road. The Super Bowl's on the road anyway, so
that's true.
Why not take the week off, heal up, get better, be the best version of you for your team? But I will say, if on your worst days you can still come out with a win, you're still playing great. If that's where your floor is, that's fantastic.
But at the same time, it shouldn't be this close of a game with the Lions.
Correct.
You're scaring a lot of people here.
Yeah.
You're scaring a lot of people with that.
Yeah, you can't. It's tough to say that we're saying the Lions are actually a decent team, and the Bills aren't that good, and it shouldn't be close. It is a confusing take,
but it's the NFL, and that's why I love football.
Yeah, there's a lot of parity in this league, so you have to just win the game. It doesn't really matter if you win by 14.
And that's why I said it's Josh Allen, he's struggling, yes, but you pull out these wins and you just keep moving. Because that's momentum within itself. This win here, you struggled, but you led your team on the game-winning drive to win the game.
Yeah.
Whatever happened with the Lions, the call, whatever. You led your team on that final drive. You got them the win. You can go into next week. Come with a better game plan. I like it for the Bills because it could have been a disaster. It could have easily been a huge loss, and then we're sitting here oh my God, it's time to panic about Josh Allen. Right. And I would have totally been on board with that if they lost.
Right.
But it was a nice little tough scrap win.
Still feels good when they walk out of Detroit and finally get out of Detroit.
But a little bit more of an interesting game with a little bit more on the line, the Cowboys and the Giants.
Yes.
How'd you feel about it?
It was less interesting to me in terms of I really thought the Cowboys had it in the bag for most of it, even when the score was close early. Yeah. I know they turned into a one-possession game with 8 seconds left on the Richie James touchdown, which helped me out. I covered the spread. I appreciate that. Thank you, Richie James. But really, the Giants don't have what it takes anymore. I think if they stayed healthy, this is a different conversation. Yeah. But they lost so many receivers. I think this was the Odell Beckham Bowl. I think Odell now signs with the Cowboys. I think he was really going to go to whoever won that game. Because if the Giants were able to squeak out a win, then they would have been a better team. And Odell would have really brought them to the next level. Yeah. But now the Cowboys are clearly the better team.
And me, it's just, I don't know. I kind of sit back and I think, what would this year have been for the Giants if Daniel Jones wasn't their quarterback? And for me, it's just, I see what the Giants tried to do with him.
Yeah.
I'm not closing the door fully on him. I see what the Giants are trying to do, and they're not dropping their pride. That's my issue with the Giants, is they're not dropping their pride with Daniel Jones. They don't want to admit that they made a mistake by putting all the eggs in this basket, and they're going to keep throwing them out there. I hope this is the last year, because you finally have the good fucking team that you desired for the last 5 to 10 years. You got the amazing running attack, you got the amazing defense, and you got the good coaching. That's everything that the Giants have asked for. Just get some mediocre quarterback in there. and do what you got to do. Because that's my problem with Daniel Jones is he's not even good enough to be mediocre, in my opinion. Like, yeah, he can run, but his decision-making is horrible. His chemistry with his team, I don't even see it. Like, it's just god-awful to me. Yeah, he's won you guys some games this year. And, the Giants, they were believable for a second. But I'm done with this guy. But I'm happy, though. I'm an Eagles fan. I don't know why I'm cheering so hard for them to get rid of this guy.
Yeah. Appreciate you laying out the path to success for them.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets interesting. Joe Judge, on his way out of New York, the one thing that he wanted to happen, he didn't care about, he didn't want to point fingers or anything. He wanted to make sure that nobody's slandering Daniel Jones' name.
Yeah.
That's his parting gift.
Is like
this guy that didn't play well enough to save your job. He said he would run through a wall for this guy. That's what he wanted his last statement to be to the media.
But it's like...
So this guy's clearly... Daniel Jones is a good leader of men. And you want that out of a quarterback. It's somebody that the locker room loves. Yeah. And we're going to get into this in a little bit. But somebody that's somewhat similar in terms of maybe talent level. I think Daniel Jones has a much, much higher ceiling than this guy. But this is a guy that I'm about to name and see if you can name him for me. But the head coach for this quarterback said, I don't care if he's not playing that well. The rest of the team plays better when he is on the field.
I can't guess who it is.
It's Taylor Heineke. And that quote was from Ron Rivera.
Yeah, I like that.
So, with that said, even if Daniel Jones isn't playing his best football, and I think he is playing okay football, I don't think you have the talent around him. Yeah. With a hurt Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton's okay. He should be a number 3 guy in the league.
At the end of the day, I feel like if the Giants had a good quarterback in that helm, I think no matter, even if they lose this game, even if the health persists, like you said, Odell takes them to the next level, and I agree with that. Yeah, he tore his ACL coming off after a long time again of not playing football, but he would have plugged right in perfectly with... I'm not going to say Russell Wilson. I don't know why that was the first name that came to my head. But if the Giants had a better quarterback, I think no matter what happens, Odell goes there. Because you want to be able to attract these guys to come to your team.
Yeah. And
you've built a good team without necessarily doing that, but you need a couple of these players to bring you to that next level. And if Daniel Jones is going to be the guy that's your quarterback, no, I don't want to get thrown to by Daniel Jones. He might be a good dude. He might be, a good locker room leader. But like, if I'm gonna go win a Super Bowl, if I'm a wide receiver and I want to go to a team, I'm not gonna go to the team that's with Daniel Jones. Yeah, I'm going to Dak Prescott.
Right. So it's tough because the Super Bowl winning blueprint right now is that it's attracting free agents.
Right.
But the past 2 were free agent quarterback signings too.
Right.
Alongside of those, you're able to sign some other guys.
That's a good point. Bill with the good points here.
So we need to figure out if, the chicken has to come before the egg here.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to attract free agents in order to win the Super Bowl. There's no question around that. If you look at the contenders right now, the Bills, they brought in Stephon Diggs. They brought in Von Miller. They brought in already established guys.
Yeah.
And they built a roster out of that. Yeah. If you look at the way Tampa Bay and the way LA did it, they brought in established people. This isn't ground up draft talent and then win with that alone. You probably need a mix of the two in order to be consistent.
And the mix of the two is what's going to really set your franchise off for really good success down the line. Because as you see with the Rams now, they're absolutely garbage, and
they got old very fast.
There's a good shot that I don't know. We're probably going to have to see a Rams rebuild for them to be good again. Because it's the injuries, the age. A lot of people left that team that were there last year that made the team good.
How do you rebuild without draft picks?
But exactly, so they're a disaster. And with the Giants, you're in this position where you've built this really good team. Go get a couple of guys. Again, Daniel Jones, he could come out and absolutely gunsling next year, whatever the case may be. But my thing is Saquon Barkley is such a generational talent. You finally got him healthy. You finally got him pushing numbers. You finally got him where you need to. Running back careers are short. Put your foot on the gas pedal.
Right.
And it's either Daniel Jones got to either hack it or he's got to go. I just don't think he's the leader of a winning Giants Super Bowl team.
Yeah, and you very well might be right there. There are very few quarterbacks in this league who are Super Bowl talents. And I don't know if Daniel Jones will ever be one of them.
Danny Dimes.
I think he's got the potential. I think
he's got a cool nickname.
Yeah, he has a great nickname. I have to see a little bit more out of him. I have to see what he can do with decent receivers and healthy receivers. Because Kenny Golladay was supposed to be that guy, and you can't understate how terrible that move ends up being. But that's not Daniel Jones' fault. He's not getting separation when he's on the field. He's barely ever on the field.
Well, Galladay, I don't know. Well, we'll have another conversation about Galladay a different day because that's just a goddamn shame.
Right. I love diving into receivers. We'll definitely do that more.
So,
but moving over to the Cowboys.
I
think Cowboys look rock solid, man. Yeah. This is a team to be feared.
No complaints. I'm not going to shit on them. I have a whole take that we're about to get to when we talk about the NFC East.
Yeah.
But I don't want to necessarily say I like them for a Super Bowl win, which, like I said, I'll dig into. But this game, it's like they're coming in week after week and just taking care of business.
They are.
And I think I'm not going to have a full opinion on them until they face the Eagles again the second time this season because they got destroyed by the Eagles the first time.
Right.
But that was also without Dak.
Right.
So when Dak is there and they face the Eagles, I think that's going to be their ultimate test on what do they need to shore up, or maybe they don't need to shore up anything. Maybe they just fucking guns a-blazing right into the playoffs. Hey. It's a good team.
Yeah, and I like you said, we're going to leave it here to an extent because we'll definitely be circling back when we talk about the division as a whole that's on the agenda today. But to really sum it up, they're winning the games they're supposed to be winning with Cooper Rush in at quarterback instead of Dak. Not many teams can do that with a backup quarterback, and I don't think Cooper Rush is a generational talent.
The last 2 weeks, Dak Prescott's hit those stretches that I told you that he was going to hit. And if he hit those stretches, they were going to win very good ball games.
and they are playing better with Dak at the helm, especially when he's hitting the hip thrusts. So
that was crazy.
So with that said, it's a solid team. They're stacked from front to back on both defense and offense. I love Micah Parsons. I love
Leighton Vander Esch.
Leighton Vander Esch is solid too, but I think Micah Parsons is going to be probably the best defensive player in this league for a long time.
It's a good take.
So we'll circle back to the Cowboys, but overall, all good things that you saw there. That was probably the worst game of the day on Thanksgiving, which even that was better than what you typically get. So on to the nightcap.
A very tense game, like a very it felt right that this was the night Thanksgiving game. And I didn't expect this game to be as good as it was. Because I'm not a big believer of this current Patriots team, even though it's Bill Belichick and everything. But yeah, so the Patriots, they lose to the Vikings. The Vikings, they ultimately come up and, they close. They've been, that Cowboys game, whatever. But they came up big and they closed yet another close game.
They did. Yeah. This game did not pan out the way I expected it to at all. I thought it was going to be a low-scoring affair. I thought it could have went either way. I was right about that part, but really I thought the Patriots defensive line was going to dominate. I thought primetime Kirk Cousins was going to flounder. Neither of those things really happened. And Justin Jefferson was able to get downfield and run amok against that secondary. And that's a good defense that really Minnesota torched, but Mac Jones looked good too.
And that's what I was going to say is that Mac Jones, for coming back, of all the media, of all, with the Zap shit and all this stuff, for him to come back and have this game, I think this is going to be huge for him moving forward and the Patriots. They needed this.
Right.
Because he was very wishy-washy. There was a lot of people not believing in him. And to go out and put up 382 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Vikings at night, prime time, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That was a cold performance.
Right. And
win or lose. That was a cold performance.
Yeah. He outguns Kirk Cousins. And, he didn't have his running backs producing like he's used to.
They were running back performances away from winning this game.
Right. And Ramondre Stevenson, he averaged over 5 yards a carry. I don't know why they didn't get him the ball more often. I don't know why they weren't running. Because if you average 5 yards a rush and you just do it nonstop, you're going to win the game.
Right.
But, he needs to get more than 7 carries. However, the receivers stepped up for the Patriots.
Huge.
Aguilar with the awesome play. Devontae Parker with a few nice grabs.
He was active on the catching end. I believe that's what it was, because I believe himself on the paths that he was taking when he was receiving the ball, he was torching the Vikings.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple replays there where Stevenson, I was like, this dude's a good running back, but this dude really does have talents on the receiver level.
The one takeaway that I have from the audio of that game, the announcers were talking about the production meeting with Belichick. Yeah. And Belichick stated that he likened the growth that he's seen from Ramondre Stevenson, not the talent, but the growth.
That's huge.
He likened it to Tom Brady. For Belichick to say that in a production meeting, and he also talked about the reliability, that's what you want to hear. So from a fantasy standpoint, what you've known Bill Belichick for throughout his career is the complete and total lack of predictability at the running back position. It was Jonas Gray one week, and then, whoever else, a bunch of other names that you probably don't remember. The following week. Sony Michel has his little flare up. But I think Ramondre Stevenson is here to stay. Hopefully he stays healthy. Yeah, LeGarrette Blount was the only other running back that you can compare, probably in the whole Belichick era, or at least the past 10 to 15 years of it, that has been any kind of consistent. And Ramondre is going to be that guy if what Belichick said stands true.
Exactly. Yeah.
But at the same time, Belichick is full of head games. You never know if he actually means what he's saying.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Overall, but I like Ramondre.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this Patriots. They showed me something different this week.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm fully prepared to shit on them when it comes time.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, just Mac Jones. I think of everybody here, even on the Vikings end, and Justin Jefferson, another crazy rip apart your opponent performance. I give the huge props to Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Because he needed that. The Patriots needed that. And Mac Jones, I think, he keeps playing like this. This Patriots team is dangerous.
Agreed.
Because their defense is amazing. I know they didn't really show it too much in this game, but their defense is amazing. Their running game is good. They got the receivers that can support Mac Jones. Because I've always liked Devontae Parker, but Nelson Aguilar is super underrated. I can say that as an Eagles fan now that we've won without him, but it's...
Yeah. So that brings us forward. The next stat which is pretty straightforward, that I'm about to throw out there. The 6-5 record for the Patriots now puts them at the bottom of the AFC East. That in itself is mind-blowing. First, that the Patriots are now in the bottom of the AFC East.
See what getting rid of Tom Brady does for that division?
But a 6-5 record is what creates that. If you look at the point differentials in that division, Bills number 1 with a plus 110 point differential. Patriots number 2 at plus 37. But all 4 teams positive point differential. This division is really good. Yeah. And they've seen some difficult pieces. Want to kind of break down one by one here. Yes. And we're also going to talk about the NFC East, which is arguably an even better division. We'll have that conversation. I think
the Giants have had a lot of luck this year, and the Commanders have gotten some weird wins. I still have the AFC East being better.
I can say the same thing about the New York Jets for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You got a good point. Okay. You got a good point.
It's these do happen to be our 2 teams' divisions. Yes. Being a Dolphins fan, you being an Eagles fan, but. I think a lot of points can be made on both sides. But I think there's no question those are the 2 best divisions in the NFL.
But we all thought it was going to be like the AFC West.
Right.
Like, with the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Broncos, we thought that was going to be a bloodbath. But no, I mean, the East divisions are actually finally... Because it's like every year we hear the same thing. The East divisions, they're going to be amazing. They're going to be, it's going to be this crazy war. And finally...
It's happening.
What's as advertised?
Right.
So who do you have winning the AFC East?
I do think the Bills pull it out. they're finding ways to win the close ones.
Yeah.
I don't see Miami sweeping Buffalo, so I think that's going to be the deciding factor. So I could really see them maybe even finishing with a tied record, but probably not. I think the Bills end up one game ahead. I do have the Dolphins finishing second, though. I don't think what the Jets have done is sustainable, and I don't know if they can win with Mike White at quarterback. We'll see.
What happened to Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco is going to be the backup. So the
I was actually banking on Joe Flacco being the starter. This is bad.
The announcement that came over, and I thought this is wild all around. There's going to be 2 quarterbacks active on Sunday. It's going to be Mike White at starter.
Who's that?
Joe Flacco as the backup.
So
Zach Wilson is going to be completely inactive.
Good call. I mean, I like that call, at the very least.
I think that is...
I mean, you have to have him active just in case for something devastating, but I like it just because he's been horrible.
He has.
He's been absolutely dog shit, and they found a way to win, which is great. Which is why I'm very confused as why they want to put Joe Flacco into this situation, because he's proven, he's a veteran.
Right.
He gave you a couple of really good performances earlier this year with the same offense.
Yeah, and he went 1-2 is kind of the issue.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
He gave you good passing stat performances. He was throwing the ball 50-something times down the field, but he didn't win games.
Right.
And when Zach Wilson comes in, they did. And it's not that they won because of him.
Right,
they won despite him.
Yeah.
But still, they game planned in a way that allowed them to still win games. I think you have to figure out what you have.
Yeah.
I think Robert Saleh is smart enough to know that this is a solid team. It's not a spectacular one.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go very far with Zach Wilson as he currently stands.
Yeah.
And talking to my Jets fan friends, it's his footwork. He's missing on screen passes. He's got the yips. He's not doing any of the fundamental stuff correct, let alone making the right reads, let alone making the throws correct down the field.
And it sucks because, when it comes to Zach Wilson, it's like he was a meme in the offseason, and I'm huge on memes.
Yeah.
He was fucking people's moms.
He was.
How do you go from fucking people's moms to just sucking at your sport? That wasn't supposed to happen. You were supposed to just fucking shit on everyone this year.
If anyone's supposed to come into the season with all the confidence in the world,
it's supposed to be him.
Zach Wilson. And now he's hiding in a corner.
Yeah.
So the other piece that you don't like to see is I feel that he was benched just because...
The comments he made, too.
Because of the comments he made. How many people do you know that lose their job because of a press conference?
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson manages to do that.
Because it was completely immature.
His team's back.
And that was completely immature of him, and I hope he takes that as a lesson, because when your defense sat here and did legitimately every single thing to win probably the most important game of the season, I would say that game, because if they beat the Patriots, they're looking a lot better than they are right now. If Zach Wilson just does anything that game, just anything at all, and anything more productive than he was, they probably win.
I can't argue that.
And then he goes on the press conference and says it wasn't my fault or whatever he said. He said I didn't let them down. They said, do you feel like you let them down? And he said no.
And it's just completely, totally wrong answer.
I'm on that press conference, almost in tears. I am sorry that I went out there and shit the bed for this team. You guys gave me everything against Bill Belichick's the Patriots, and I didn't come through. I am so sorry. This will never happen again. But instead, he's like, no, fuck all you.
Yep.
I fuck moms. Fuck everybody.
That's all I can bring to the table here.
Yeah.
So now I want to circle back in the Zach Wilson conversation a little bit more about what could have been different if he just wasn't a prick in the locker room.
Yeah.
Because his offense clearly doesn't like him. You see Garrett Wilson not in support during the press conferences. His defense clearly doesn't like him. You've got Sauce Gardner accidentally liking posts on Instagram and everything.
I love when rookies just step out of there. When rookies specifically step up and just do shit like that, it's funny as hell, man.
It's great. Yeah. I want to like Sauce Gardner so bad.
Yeah.
If he wasn't in my division, he'd be one of my favorite players in the NFL. I love a good corner. Yeah. But man, I really appreciate him accidentally liking things on social media. So to circle back to what he could be if he did have the locker rooms back, he could be Taylor Heineke.
I think if he had the locker rooms back, I truly believe Zach Wilson, in my opinion, is a better quarterback than the stats and whatever the fuck he did this year. Because I think this year was horrible, but I don't think it's Zach Wilson. I think the guy is talented. I think he has an arm. I think he's shown that on some occasions. I don't know what it is. I think it's his attitude. I think he's got to fix that, and he's really got to get it together. Because he's talented, but whatever. I don't know if it was his ego. I don't know if it's injury. I don't know if he was actually really bad. I know it's not the coaching because your coaching fucking led you to a lot of those wins this year.
Yeah, and it's... I don't know about any of those things.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of play total devil's advocate on each one of those points.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the coaching. I think it was the running game. Yeah. Every time that the Jets have a running back that gets more than 60 yards rushing, that's their line. They have one running back that's more than 60 yards rushing,
and their main running back got hurt too, right?
Breece Hall's hurt. Yeah. Michael Carter, I think, is a very talented running back.
Yeah.
James Robinson, I love James Robinson. Mm-hmm. He hasn't even gotten up to speed yet. He hasn't won that many games yet, but Michael Carter definitely has. Breece Hall certainly did. Yeah. So they're going to have running back talent for years to come.
For sure.
There's no question on that.
And they know
what do they need to do at the quarterback
They've
position.
always drafted good at that position as well.
They have. They have. So with that said, I don't know if he has the talent either. Yeah. If you go back to him getting drafted at number 2 overall, first off, it probably wasn't supposed to happen that way. There probably were better options on the board.
Probably could have kept Sam Darnold for all that.
Right. And if you really dive into that draft, which we will at some point, I'm probably not taking Zach Wilson at number 2 overall.
Oh, no. We should redraft. You know what? We're going to do that in the offseason or maybe a little bit early. We're going to redraft that.
Yeah. I think we might redraft a couple. I think there's some really interesting quarterback classes over the last 4 years or so. Yeah. But with that said, coming out of BYU, he didn't really play against good teams. And when he did play against good teams, he played awful. Put him against a good defense. An NFL caliber defense is a whole different level than that. And he can't do what he needs to do.
And by no means am I sitting here saying that like Zach Wilson has the potential to be some amazing, great star quarterback in this league. I just think he got the fundamentals and the start to where a good coach can pick him up and do well, but at the same time, his ego prevented him from working well with this coach that he currently has in the system that's gotten him victories. So hopefully Zach Wilson learns a lesson here, and we'll see what happens. But it's just another quarterback to throw in a very long list of names right now of what the fuck is going on? What is going on?
Let me ask you this. Where do you see Zach Wilson in 3 years?
Prison. No, I'm just playing. Zach Wilson in 3 years, I see him the quarterback of the... I see him being an okay quarterback of, like, a team that's going to be middle of the pack. Like, by then, a team that doesn't make the playoffs, a team that doesn't...
You see him starting for a different team, though.
Yes. The Jets, I think, with everything that's gone down, it's going to take Zach Wilson an extreme level of maturity and an extreme level of leadership to get over this that he does not possess.
Especially in New York.
He's an immature little fucker.
He is.
And excuse my language that I'm just going off on a tangent here, but he doesn't possess the immaturity right now. Maybe if they were to give him 3 years, he's not going to accept the 3 years, and they're not going to give it to him.
I agree. So, I think he ends up backing up Johnny Manziel for the FCF Zappers.
I would love to see that.
I think that's where he's at.
We got to free Johnny Manziel. Get him in the NFL for one game. No.
Just put him in the Pro Bowl.
But in my list, I agree with your list. Bills number 1. Big point out that I want to make is that when it comes to the Bills, I like that they're trusting their running game more. The past couple of weeks, I like that. Like, they're noticing that Josh Allen's struggling throwing the football, and they're running the ball more. I know Josh Allen was the one that led in rushing yards the last game, but whatever. I think the most important thing for this team is the connection between Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. Obviously, it won the last game, and the game before that. They both have had cheeky little end-of-the-game touchdowns, and I think if that connection proves true, they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
They got to keep that intact. I think they will, and I think they'll come number 1. Number 2, the Dolphins, but I think they'll be only a game behind. I think the Dolphins are going to stay hot on the Bills. I think it's going to be exciting. I love what the Dolphins have. I'm not counting them out in the playoffs. I'm counting them out in the division win, but I'm not counting them out in the playoffs. Because they're as much as a contender than the Bills. And if I'm being honest, if it was a game between the Bills and the Dolphins, I can't give you the winner right now. I can't. I know you're really happy to hear that. I know you are.
I'm all right. I'm on board with that.
I don't want any. If I'm Mahomes, if I'm Josh Allen, if I'm Lamar Jackson, one team I'm not seeing is the Dolphins. I do whatever I can at the end of the season to fix the seeding, mastermind, just whatever you guys got to do. Make sure I'm not facing the Dolphins.
All of Brooklyn Nets.
Because that's a lot. Because imagine you're Josh Allen or Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, and your opposition is this monster of an offense.
Yeah.
And a defense that's getting better week by week.
Right. So it's not that the Dolphins defense should get feared by any means, but when you see an offense that is really dictating games,
one game of 30 points can end a whole season for anybody.
100%. Yeah. And the Dolphins have been over 30 in the last 3 for sure, but they're capable of doing it kind of the rest of the way out.
Yeah.
So
and that wins a lot of ball games.
Yeah, I do anticipate another 30-point performance against the Texans. I also think it might come from a defensive score going against Kyle Allen in his first career start.
That'd be huge.
But I really think the Dolphins season and whether or not they can win the division is going to come down to kind of 3 games, but really the 1 game against the Bills in Buffalo. That's middle of December, week before Christmas. That's going to be a tough one. But also, they're going to get challenged by the 49ers. They're going to get challenged by the Patriots.
The biggest thing with the Dolphins is they don't got pressure. They do not have the pressure right now. All this pressure is on the Bills and Josh Allen and Mahomes. And, no one is sitting here putting the pressure on the Dolphins to, you guys got to win. I think that'll come next year.
Yeah.
This is a good year for the Dolphins to go sneak in and just fucking knock a whole bunch of people out, maybe win. Hey. I'm not counting. I love this Dolphins team right now and where they're at.
And I can see it being a very similar run to the Bengals where there isn't much pressure on them.
Exactly.
They're able to ride just the excitement and Joe Burr, the coolest guy on the planet for a little while.
And Tua's a winner.
Tua is.
I'll say it every single week until he proves me right. Tua's a winner. Perfect. Tyreek Hill's a winner. And Jalen Waddle's just going to come in and be the guy that no one's paying attention to because everyone's locked eyes on Hill. But hey, you got someone just as fast, maybe a little faster than fucking Jalen Waddle, just on the other end of the fucking field.
If you could see what the odds are right now for a Jalen Waddle Super Bowl MVP, I feel like I'm putting a couple dollars on that.
Oh, yeah. That would be epic.
Because you can really see the run. It's very feasible to look at that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I expected the Dolphins to be in the Super Bowl this year. I do think they fall short. I don't think this is quite the year yet.
Yeah.
But I think the way that Coach McDaniel is, the way he leads, is not going to buckle once the pressure shows up.
Exactly.
I think he talks a lot about
he's faced pressure.
He has.
Him as a coach has faced a lot of pressure so far. I don't think a Super Bowl is gonna. Well, I mean, just these games at the end of the season aren't gonna.
They're not
face
bigger
him.
than him.
Yeah,
and he's a small dude, but still not bigger than him.
Tua's a small dude, and so is Tyreek.
A lot of small toots. They just got a lot of fight in them.
But Tyreek Hill, that trade for him is what I like to put in the forefront because he knows what it takes to win. He's seen Patrick Mahomes rise to the occasion after sitting for a full year and then coming in and being the best quarterback in the league. Mm-hmm. I think Tyreek Hill has seen so much that he just adds so much to this team that I want to say they're inexperienced because of Waddle and Tua. Yeah. But then I look at Tyreek Hill, I look at the veterans on their defense, a couple more other veterans on offense, and it's just I don't know. I really like what I see.
Yeah.
But the Jets, I had on here that they were going to come very close to making the playoffs, but not making because of Joe Flacco alone. Because I think the veteran presence of Joe Flacco is good for a situation like this. It's a weird comparison, but it reminds me of Dusty Baker with the Astros. When the Astros had a lot of controversy, you plug in the really old guy, and he just rights the ship, and you get a lot of momentum off that. But if they're not going to go that route, I don't know what...
I'll take the reins on this because this is completely unexpected. I just dropped some knowledge on you and said Mike White's going to be in here. Yeah. Mike White's going to come in and have a Mike White-esque game. This guy's got his jersey in Canton already.
Yeah.
He's got a handful of starts maybe in the NFL, and he's got his jersey in Canton for that. First game where he had 400 passing yards against the Bengals. Jets take down the Bengals last year. Jets are one of very few teams to beat the Bengals last year.
Right, exactly. That's
after
a good point.
a certain point.
That's a good point.
So he gets the Bears this week, who are going to give them some good short field opportunities since Justin Fields looks like he's not going to play, which crumbled my daily lineup, by the way. That's a side note. I thought Justin Fields was going to tough it out. I thought the shoulder was going to hold up.
No point, though.
Right. Don't push it. You're not winning anything this year. The Bears are 3-8. They can't win with Justin Fields. They certainly can't win without him.
They got a lot to figure out.
So this is a perfect get-right game and hype up the young guy with Mike White before they get to face the Vikings next week, then the Bills the week after. And then after these 3 weeks, Mike White has his one great game and then kind of comes back down to earth. Solid absolutely wants Zach Wilson to be the starter. He's the most talented guy in that room. It's just whether or not he can get right. He has the most talent. It's not saying it's a lot of talent, but I think that Zach Wilson is back when they're facing the Lions. They end the season with Lions, Jaguars, Seahawks, and then Dolphins.
Which would be good for him to get his feet wet again. It's just me. I don't understand it as a Jets organization how you don't go with Flacco. I like Mike White. He's in Canton, everything. I love that. But when it comes down to it, it's why not give Joe Flacco that try again? He's a veteran. He's stuck. Joe Flacco, what I love is that he's not going to give up. Yeah. I had a lot of criticism for Joe Flacco when he was a regular starter. Oh my God, you should have heard me. I had a lot of criticism for that guy. But now that he's just this old veteran dude that's backing up teams and he's there and he's existing, I like that he's continuously trying to prove to everybody that he can still do it. And he said it in press conference, I still want that chance to get out there and win games. I just think that would be perfect right now for the Jets. You need that old veteran guy to come in and just smooth the waters. Win or lose, just smooth the waters. Give a nice 350-yard performance, 37 for 62 or whatever the fuck he's going to put up.
That's a Flacco stat
just
line.
whatever.
I've never seen it. I think you make a good point, and that could be the alternative scenario. If Zach Wilson doesn't get his stuff together, if he can't prove to his teammates, let alone his coaching staff, that he has what it takes to be a starter in the NFL within the next 3 weeks, then I think Mike White era ends in 3 weeks all the same, unless he can pull off an upset against either the Vikings or the Bills. Then that throws this whole thing out of the window. But if he can't, if they go 1-2 in the next 3 weeks, then I think we could see Flacco end the season.
Imagine he wins he just wins out.
I think I could see him if they win 4 out of that.
You said the Dolphins are the last game on the docket.
Right.
And if the Dolphins are secured in their position, if they're not because I think the Dolphins have the tiebreaker over the Bills right now, right?
Correct.
So
that could change.
Yeah, if the Dolphins aren't tied with the Bills or they're one game behind, I don't really see them risking Tua or Waddle or Hill. I can see them kind of chilling that game.
If the Jets win all the ones that they can in this stretch, if they beat the Bears and then they win those 4 in a row before the Dolphins game, they're going to go into that last game of the season with 11 wins already under their belt. Yeah. Guaranteed playoff spot if you get to 12, I feel. Yeah. But, I think there might be a team with 11 wins that misses playoffs this year.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of this depends on the Chargers and
Chargers and
they're
Bengals.
Gonna play if they're going to play to their talent. Or not, that's going to be completely up to the Chargers.
And we'll definitely hit on the wild card teams. We'll hit Bengals and we'll hit Chargers.
That would be a good topic for next week.
We're on it next week.
Yeah.
You look at the NFC East, I want to give you the mic a little bit with talking Philadelphia Eagles.
So, when it comes to the Eagles, I don't necessarily think they'll lose another game unless they lose this Packers game. Or if they lose against the Cowboys, because I can definitely see that too. It's a great team. I think they'll finish first in the division for sure. Yeah. It's just when it comes to the playoffs, I don't know. I think if we run into the Vikings, I'm not sure. I know we've beaten the Vikings. I'm just not sure if in a playoff scenario we can beat the Vikings. Yeah. Or if we run into Tom Brady again. Yeah, our team is much better than the Buccaneers. But in a playoff scenario, what I saw from Jalen Hurts last year, I need to see something different. I need to see something new. And under pressure this year, Jalen Hurts hasn't been the best.
No.
We've won. We're 9-1. That's great. I love the team. I think it's great that Jalen Hurts is struggling now rather than the playoffs so that he can figure it out. But we'll see, man. I'm just not sold on the Eagles right now. Just on inexperience and Jalen Hurts. I want to believe, man.
Yeah.
I want to absolutely believe that Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for the Eagles and he is gonna just rip it apart and the Eagles are gonna be players and we're gonna be in the championship game before the Super Bowl.
I understand the hesitation entirely.
Yeah.
It's really hard to have faith in your own team when they've given you every reason not to over the course of your lifespan. But
that's true.
But I think AJ Brown is the difference maker.
Yeah.
And I think he will be able to bail Jalen out in times where he's not having his best game. He'll take a dump off to the house. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Jalen can look at his stat line and feel a little bit better about himself on the day.
Yeah. I do like that we kept Miles Sanders, too, because there was a lot of rumors that we might trade him or we might get a better running back. I like that we kept Miles Sanders because he fits everything that's going on.
I wouldn't have minded another piece.
Oh, yeah, like Kareem Hunt or something.
Yeah, and, maybe that knocks Miles' confidence. So maybe it was the right move, but I would have liked a little bit more talent. I don't have a ton of trust in Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell. But, Miles Sanders is good. He's really good.
He's had a couple 100-yard games this season.
Yeah.
I believe in him. But my biggest take in this discussion is going to come from the Cowboys, just real fast. I think they're going to make the playoffs, obviously. I think the team is good. It's just like at every position, what I find funny about the Cowboys, that every position, besides Michael Parsons, is that they have guys that are on the right side of above average, but nobody's the best.
Right.
I don't have one guy on that team, Michael Parsons included, because the defense is as a whole, is as a unit. I don't have one person that I think is going to rise to the occasion and really take them to the spot that they need to be taken to make a run in the playoffs. I could be wrong, because this Cowboys team, not for nothing, and I hate saying good things about the Cowboys. I really do. But not for nothing, this team is really good. Yeah. I don't believe in Mike McCarthy, though. I think Mike McCarthy is a big old bozo. I think that's the Achilles heel. Last year, the last play that they ran was perfect, like very perfect in seeing why. Aaron Rodgers could have done better in a lot of those games.
Yeah.
But you can very clearly and precisely see what Aaron Rodgers was dealing with in Green Bay a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because the decision making of this guy absolutely doesn't exist when it comes to those very late situations where you need a perfect play. He doesn't have it.
Yeah.
He has nothing in his bag to come out and win you a ball game in those scenarios.
Right.
And that's what scares me.
And you got to share that fear because Mike McCarthy hasn't proven himself capable in many of these situations. I don't think he's a great leader. I think that's another one we circle back to in a future Leader of Men segment. Not a fan of Mike McCarthy. Yeah. But I think if you give any reasonably capable coach, which he is, I mean, he's
he's not the worst.
Yeah.
But he wins games.
I think he is certainly middle of the pack. He's not very creative by any means.
In a league where you got to be really creative.
Right. But if you can be, 8-3, just doing things pretty casually right now.
But that's the Cowboys' way.
It is.
That's the annoying thing that I'm sure Cowboys fans are tired of dealing with is just, they're putting up these good seasons, but when it comes to the playoffs, it's like, I don't see the one player that's going to get them there. But at the same time, they do have the good collection of players, but their coaching, it's just...
The one player that can get them there is Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I like him.
And
very underrated. I like that Ezekiel Elliott's kind of swallowed a lot of his pride to let Pollard shine. It
certainly feels like it. Yeah. And we haven't heard anything for better or for worse to support that, but that's kind of why it feels that way.
Well, but I mean, at the end of the day, Zeke's getting huge money. If he was to be offended about it, he could have stopped this before it even began.
Sure.
And been like, I'm your running back. I'm making the money. You have to feed me the ball. But he's running with this running back by committee. Pollard's a beast.
He is.
Like, I remember drafting him in my Madden leagues last year because of his, 98 speed that he had or whatever. But,
he's got top-notch speed, but he can be between the top guy and he can run it on the outside. He's a really good running back in a league that doesn't have a ton of those. And really, him and Zeke are comprising what might be the best 1-2 punch in the league.
And I would agree with that.
And I don't think there are too many tandems that exist right now.
But my only issue is like if they run into a team that's good at defending the run, like maybe the Vikings, they're decent at guarding the run, even though they ripped the Cowboys ripped the Vikings apart.
So
but
traditionally, if you have a team that can stop the run, they're good at stopping the inside or the outside.
Yeah.
Right. There's guys that stuff the middle, and there's good containment, and they have guys that can do either one.
Exactly.
And the offensive line is solid as well. So they can perform in either one of those scenarios. Some will prove that wrong. There will be some teams that can stop both. But right now, nobody comes to mind that's just shutting down the run that they'd have to run into.
And I know the Cowboys won in the past, but I don't know why people still call them America's team.
That's something that should be dead by now.
I hope it dies. After they lose this year, I hope it dies.
Yeah, it's not going to. But listen, there's got to be stats that back up how many people are Cowboys fans versus other fans.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
Who would you nominate as the viewer to be America's team? Give us a good reason why. Record a little short, and we'll throw it in the next episode if somebody gives a good...
I feel like it has to be the Patriots. Because they're named the Patriots.
I'm just going to shut that conversation down. We're going to move on after that, because that is going to go nowhere good.
All right, so give us, some Bills block. What's up, man? What's going on the fantasy end?
So, in taking a look at this week's matchup, what I really wanted to do was build a lineup around Justin Fields. Like I said, that kind of spurned the whole thing when he's likely not playing this week. If he does play, I don't really have a ton of faith that he's going to finish the game. I think the Jets are really going to get after him, knowing that he is hobbled. So I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go to Justin Herbert this week. So Justin Herbert's my quarterback to start. That matchup is very tasty for a quarterback. I don't know if they'll be able to slow him down. However, I don't know who he's going to have for his receivers, so I'm not sacking this week. I think Justin Herbert spreads the ball around pretty well. Could be a little Josh Palmer, a little DeAndre Carter, a little Keenan Allen. He passes to Eckler as well. Eckler being a little pricier. Couldn't squeeze him into the lineup. Would have loved to get Eckler in there. But for running backs, I'm going Ken Walker against the Raiders. Raiders cannot stop the run, and Seattle, when they commit to the run, they can't be stopped. So I got Ken Walker as really my number one play of the week. Then I've got Jeff Wilson from the Dolphins, still a guy that's getting up to speed with the Dolphins playbook. I think there's nothing better to really get you acclimated than a matchup
game against Houston.
Yep. So he's my running back 2 for the week. I've got Travis Kelce as my last spend-up option. Him against the Rams, I really think Kansas City's just going to have their way with the Rams.
Yeah.
So against Bryce Perkins, he's good to turn the ball over a couple times.
And usually Mahomes,
red zone appearances.
Mahomes usually destroys teams like this that are like with Kelce though. Like he normally feeds Kelce in these games to get him going. So
Correct.
I love that.
And Kelce still has a ways to go to climb the all-time charts. He's passed Gronk now for all-time yards. Yeah. But he definitely needs some more touchdowns to really solidify his Hall of Fame career as one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end that ever played the game. Yeah. He's still 5,000. He's 5,000 yards behind Tony Gonzalez right now. Yeah. But I don't know if he's ever going to catch that. That's just extreme longevity from Tony Gonzalez.
I don't know. I can see the Kelce longevity though, because Mahomes is just
quite possible.
Because as a tight end, I believe a lot of it is just believing in your quarterback. And it's just, if he believes in Mahomes, that I could see him play until as long as Tony Gonzalez played.
I could see that as well. Yeah. But either way, I got him for multiple touchdowns this week. So locking in on Travis Kelce as a tight end. For receivers,
Bill's block is spicy this week. I'm loving it.
For receivers, I spend it up a little here with Terry McLaurin. I got Terry McLaurin against Atlanta. Atlanta gives up more points over the last 4 or 5 weeks, especially than anybody else in the league to a wide receiver. Definitely not strong at corner in ATL, but home game, McLaurin, Heineke. Heineke loves McLaurin, man. And they love playing for Heineke. Yeah. They're absolutely going to draw some stuff up to just huck it to McLaurin. And Atlanta can't really stop it. They don't have the personnel to stop it. They don't have the play style to stop it. So McLaurin is probably going to be really a top 5 receiver this week, if not the best receiver of the week, in my opinion. Donovan Peoples-Jones coming in at my number 2 receiver. This guy's just been quietly solid all year long. Tampa Bay is average against receivers. This isn't really a pick on the defense type of matchup. It's just Cleveland, I think, can give Tampa a run for their money.
Last week without Deshaun.
It's the last week. Yeah, and Brissett has liked DPJ. Yeah. So Donovan Peoples-Jones should at least get 8-9 catches, which is crazy in a PPR format. So very, very solid floor. He could end up with 80 yards, 90 yards, no touchdown, but that's still going to give you the bottom line that you really need in order to perform here. I have Demarcus Robinson, who Lamar loves and John Harbaugh loves. We really thought it was going to be Devin Duvernay last week. Yeah. It wasn't. He couldn't even get my 35 yards I needed to cash the prop parlay. But Demarcus Robinson really outperformed his yardage total.
It seemed like the Jaguars.
130 yards last week, and now he gets to go against the Jaguars. I really think they do what they can to keep Lamar upright and not running in games like this. I think Lamar should have less rushing yards. Still might get in the end zone with a rushing touchdown. Lamar's a fine play, but he's going to rely on the arm a lot more this week than normal. So Demarcus Robinson is an absolute lock. And then I've got Nico Collins in the flex. Just had to go cheap there, but Nico Collins gets peppered with targets from Davis Mills, and you really don't know what you get with Kyle Allen. Plus, I love the pick on Miami's defense. So you got to go Nico Collins there. For defense, I've got Carolina Panthers. That's not a defense you hear a whole lot about.
Yo, Bill's taking a swing.
But again, got to go cheap here just from spending up at the other positions. Did have $500 left over in this salary.
But it is Russell Wilson. So.
And it's Russell Wilson. That's it. That's all you need. Any defense against Russell Wilson is a defense that I can trust.
And that was Bill's block. That was a good one this week. That was spicy. I love it. So to go with, Tom's intuition, which obviously it's more bullshit. It's more on just how I feel more than any stats to back it up whatsoever. I want to start with a very interesting take. This could be, the hottest take that ever hits this podcast. But I think that the Jets, the Patriots, and the Chargers are going to suck enough to get the Raiders, the Browns, or the Colts into a position not to get into the playoffs, but at least make it interesting. I think Jeff Saturday's Colts or the Raiders or the Browns after they get back to Deshaun Watson. Because I think the Browns, they're 3-7 right now. If they can sneak maybe this week's game, maybe. Deshaun Watson, that hype alone could propel them. But that's just a big leap. That would take 3 teams to suck for one of those 3 teams to get in.
Yeah.
So that's a stretch. But the second thing that I actually believe, I think Kyler Murray is going to rip the Chargers apart. I think this is going to be, Kyler Murray, he's gotten to play a lot of Call of Duty these last couple weeks. He's happy. He's in a good state of mind. He's fresh off of some bed rest, off of some sitting in a beanbag or a gaming chair and playing some games. I think he's going to come in and he's just going to rip these Chargers apart, and he's going to go back to playing video games. Yeah. He's not even going to give a fuck. Fuck everybody. DeAndre Hopkins, I think he's going to fucking go off. I think all that shit just woke this man up even more. Yeah. All that shit talk from the last game.
He played against the Niners.
So, yeah, I mean, Arizona, they faced the Niners, and the Niners, I think they poked the bear a lot to where I think this game means a lot to DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. And I think if you're Kyler Murray and you're the Cardinals, this is a game that is very important.
Yeah.
Because you got to keep DeAndre Hopkins happy. And if there's going to be any success beyond the season, because obviously, they probably don't make the playoffs this season unless they go on a big run, you need to win this game. And I think Kyler Murray understands that. Kyler Murray is a baller. He's a double sport athlete. I think, very amazing, very talented. I think he's going to get the job done, and I think he's going to destroy the Chargers. Last one. Aaron Rodgers is a bad, bad man. And I'm not going to tell you whether he beats the Eagles or not because I'm never going to to tell you that a team's going to beat the Eagles unless the Eagles are tanking or whatever. But Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. 350 yards.
Wow. All right. Sounds intuition. So to wrap us up, want to bring us through the 5 and 5?
Yes, here's our records first. There's our records right now. I'm winning currently. I think Bill got me on touchdowns, but I got the record.
And right now we're going with money lines to start. I'll hit mine, then Tom hits his, then we'll circle back touchdown scorers. I've got Ravens over the Jaguars, which should be a pretty easy one, but the line is set awful curiously. I think the Jaguars do make this very close, but the Ravens squeak it out. I've got Falcons in the upset over Washington. I think Heineke connects with McLaurin pretty consistently, but I think Falcons somehow are the better team. And Marcus Mariota is a better quarterback than Taylor Heineke.
They did take a big hit with Pitts. I mean, I know Pitts was struggling this season, but...
Yeah, so that's the thing. Pitts wasn't struggling. Pitts wasn't producing for fantasy, but he was an all-star tight end. If you really look at the blocking and the scheme.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
So, they are going to miss him. That's going to hurt. But and Washington gets Chase Young back, so this is a close one. But
yeah, that's why I saw your Falcons pick. I was like,
yeah. But I do like the Falcons to pull off the upset. I really think Marcus Mariota has a huge game this week.
I need you to bet on that.
I've got Broncos over Panthers. I don't think the Broncos do a whole lot here, hence the Panthers pick.
We keep shitting on Russell Wilson, but I think it's like, come on, Russell. Come on, Russell.
It's going to keep happening. So I think the Broncos do just enough to win against a completely depleted Panthers team. I think Sam Darnold throws the ball to the wrong team more often than he throws to the right one. So I've got the Broncos beating the Panthers.
Panthers are just doing fucking whatever right now.
Yep. I've got the Chargers over your Kyler Murray and Cardinals. I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Chargers. I think the Chargers finally getting a little healthy. Mm-hmm. Still banged up for sure. Still one of the most banged up teams in the league, if not the most banged up team. But I think they're healthy enough for Justin Herbert to really sling it. And I think on offense is really where they need to be. Their offense needs to be their identity. I know that you got Khalil Mack. I know they're pretty stacked on defense too. Plenty of talent on that side of the ball. Yeah. But the offense being healthy enough should lead them to some success here. Lastly, I have the Browns in the upset over Tom Brady and the Bucs. The Browns need it, and like you said, I mean this is the one that they need in order to maybe have a chance.
And they got to understand that, because it's like the Browns win this game, there is a very good chance that you can insert yourself with these other teams in the playoff picture. Right. Because you're going to get one of the best quarterbacks back. And that man, if he doesn't have the most to prove, I don't know what. If that man doesn't come back with a fiery passion, big chip on his shoulder, fuck this whole league type of attitude, I'm going to be shocked, and I'm going to really be roasting that man. But
And I look forward to that. I think we might end up doing just that. But I don't know if it's fair.
Rustiness.
Somebody that's been off of football for as long as he has been. But I think plenty is fair. We can talk all the shit.
I want to see the hunger, though. Even if it's a bad game, I want to see the hunger. I want to see the...
But either way, there are going to be a few of these, I think. But this might be the last time that the Browns have a chance.
This is their last chance for their season. Yeah.
So I think they're fired up. I think they beat the Bucs.
Yeah, that's good.
Over to you.
So I have the Bengals over the Titans. I think the Titans. They're in a good. This is a good game. This is a better game than I think a lot of people are going to realize. I think it's going to be a very scrappy in the trenches game. Obviously, Derrick Henry brings a lot to that. But I think Joe Burrow. I think Joe Shiesty he's gonna pull it out. I think he's gonna pull it out against the Titans, and it's gonna be the start to a very phenomenal end of the season for Cincinnati, where they lock in their playoff spot without a doubt. I have the Buccaneers over the Browns. I know I'm trying to set this scene and paint this picture where Deshaun Watson comes back, the Cleveland, this is for you, and then Cleveland goes on a magical run. But that team, it's Tom Brady right now. Tom Brady's he's on a run. Tom Brady is having fun again. He's skinnier, but he's having fun. I think that man's depressed a little bit. Somebody help Tom Brady. But
he's having fun when he's on the field.
I don't think he's losing this game. I think he's going to he keeps taking this momentum. That Tom Brady, I'm almost saying that he might win the whole thing because of how everything's going down. But I have the Cardinals winning against the Chargers. I have to be consistent with my bullshit intuition. It's gotten me this far in life. I don't have no reason why they're going to beat the Chargers for you, besides the reasons before. The Raiders, I have the Raiders over the Seahawks. I think they have a lot of momentum for no reason at all. I think it's perfect to get a sneaky win over the Seahawks. Seahawks, I still think they're going to be in a good position after this game regardless, because of how the NFC is. But the Raiders, I like the momentum they have. I like that Devontae Adams is ripping the field, and I think Derek Carr, if there's anything that this guy wins games with, it's his fucking pride. And after crying last game, winning, I think they're going to take that into this game and win. And then it's going to get a little spicy from there, because then a whole bunch of, are the Raiders going to make the playoffs rumors, or they're going to begin. And it's going to be funny because they're not going to make the playoffs. But I have Jeff Saturday's Colts over the Steelers. It's Jeff Saturday.
That's all you need. That's end
of my 5.
All right, perfect. So on to our touchdown scorers. I've got Jeff Wilson and Ken Walker for the reasons I stated during the Daily Fantasy.
Yes.
Both prime matchups against the Raiders and the Texans, respectively. Neither one of them have shown the ability to stop the running back really even once this year. I have Tyler Lockett, again, just on matchup alone. Seahawks getting the Raiders, their defense is just atrocious.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about their defense right now. Can't stop the run or the pass. So I've got him scoring as well. I've got Jonathan Taylor finding the end zone against the Steelers. Jeff Saturday, baby. That he's got the offensive line playing better.
Yeah.
So Taylor should find the end zone this week. I like anybody to really find the end zone against the Steelers anyway. Even with TJ Watt back and being more disruptive, a bit more of a unit now, still Jonathan Taylor should find the end zone at least once. And I've got Rachaad White find the end zone against the Browns. Browns don't do great against running backs. If there's one area that they can stop, it is the pass. Passes to running backs side, though, they do give it up a bit there. So I do think Rachaad White can find some success here. So those are my 5 touchdown scores for the week.
I like that. So I have Jalen Hurts as number 1. I think the Eagles are going to come out of the gate struggling really hard to throw the ball against the Packers. But then I think they're going to figure it out in the second half, and Jalen Hurts is going to have his way with the Packers defense. But I think in the first half, it's going to rely a lot on running, and I think that's where Jalen Hurts is going to get a rushing touchdown. I think he's gonna have a really nice, smooth play that gets him in the end zone against the Packers. I have Nick Chubb. I really like the matchup against the Buccaneers, as you had mentioned earlier in the podcast, so I'm definitely going with Nick Chubb. To go with my take, I'm going D-Hop. I want to see him in the end zone from Kyler Murray. The fourth one, T. Higgins. Joe Burrow's got to throw to somebody. That's his number 1 receiver right now. I think he gets the ball in the end zone. And then Devontae Adams, simply enough. I think he'll get 2 touchdowns against the Seahawks, but one touchdown for this. And those are the 5 that I had. I did have Jonathan Taylor, but I took him out to be.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So
I'll let you have the spotlight with Jonathan Taylor.
I really like your Devontae Adams take. I think you might be right. I like the Raiders over the Seahawks as well. I think they're fired up. I don't think Seahawks are quite as good as they've played. I don't think they're as good as their record says they are.
Raiders are
and I don't think the Raiders are quite as bad as their record says they are either. They win the games that they're not supposed to.
We should have a very interesting conversation when it's all said and done for the Raiders.
Oh, man.
What it could have been.
Yeah.
What this franchise could have been if
they just
Antonio Brown wasn't a head case.
Oh, man.
If John Gruden didn't send emails.
If we're diving into all the
didn't murder that one woman. Well, I forgot his name already. Sorry.
Yeah. Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
There's a lot we could talk about with the Raiders.
That's probably a whole episode. That team would be so nasty right now.
Right. But here we are. Josh McDaniels, baby. So, to wrap us up with a quick bonus bet, I like Devontae Adams for 2+ touchdowns. I think that very well should happen. Should be a close game, and that's the only guy that can score aside from Josh Jacobs. Throw him in for 1 as well. So your parlay, your same game parlay for that, we've got Ken Walker, Tyler Lockett, Josh Jacobs each with 1 touchdown, Devontae Adams with 2 touchdowns, and Raiders money line.
That's a lot of money.
That should cash well.
That's huge money.
So, and might as well take the over. I don't think that's going to get you much more odds.
My bonus bet, and why I didn't include it in anything else that I said, throw some money on the Saints beating the 49ers. I think the 49ers, if there's one thing that's going to stop them, I think it's their confidence.
Yeah.
I think it's their ego. They're building a lot of ego in San Fran, which rightfully so. They have a very nasty team. But I think they get shocked. I think the Saints come out and beat them, and I think that has to have a lot of odds. But it's not going to be something that cripples the 49ers. It's going to be something that the 49ers need. They need to be dragged back down to earth. I think they definitely do, because at the end of the day, like you said, Jimmy G's still their quarterback.
Yep.
So
people are talking about how good he is. People on the 49ers think he's a good quarterback right now, so they need a wake-up call.
They need a wake-up call, and I think it's gonna happen here. I think McCaffrey has a quiet game. I think Debo has a decent game. I think Garoppolo struggles, and I think the Saints, fuck it. Fair fucks to the Saints. That's my fair fuck segment of the day. Fair fucks to the Saints.
And that wraps us up, ladies and gentlemen.
Hell yeah. With that being said,
it's episode 2.
Episode 2. We're going to surprise you guys with an episode 3 actually in a couple days after this one releases.
A little earlier than usual.
Yeah, we plan on releasing actually another episode after the Sunday games wrap up. We're going to film another one because obviously this is going to be a shorter episode. But we appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Like, subscribe, follow, sell your souls to us. This is the Built Different podcast. We appreciate you guys listening. Thank you.